Heyo everybody, Haku here with a comic discussion for The Walking Dead, and this one's going to be predictions for the Whisperer War. And these predictions will be a bit specific to one aspect of the Whisperer War, and that's that at the end of the last issue, 157 I believe, we were shown this 16 panel grid of 16 panels, of course, but each of them had what one of the 16 sort of main characters for this storyline was doing, and each of them, like at the very beginning of the letter hex, before they got into the letters, Kirkman did say that each of them would have their lives completely changed if they were still alive at the end of the next 5 issues when the Whisperer War ends. So because of that, I want to specifically try to predict where I think they'll be, or if I think they will die. So yeah, getting into that, I will go from the top left across, just like you're reading, until I get through all 16. Just letting you know that's the order I'm planning to do this in. So that would mean, sorry, my accent coming through, that would mean that the first one we have to talk about is Gabriel. Gabriel, I don't think he's going to die. I don't really want him to die. At this point, I think he has a little bit more he can do. I think that either way, if he dies or if he lives, it's not going to be a huge deal, because Gabriel hasn't really been a huge important person in the comic storyline, at least not in a while. So yeah, I'm not expecting anything big of Gabriel, and that would mean that next up is Dwight, and I am terribly, terribly afraid that Dwight may die here. I don't want him to die because I really like the character, and I feel like the character has some purpose. I feel like his story is really ramping up. He's been sort of a main key character lately, and I'd like to see him remain in that key character spotlight. So I'm really hoping he won't die, but I do think that the chance is very, very much there, because a lot of fans want to see Negan get Lucille back, and a lot of them would think, and I think it's reasonable to guess, that the only way he's getting Lucille back is over Dwight's dead body. And the thing is, like, I don't know, I disagree with that, I've said before, because I like Negan without Lucille. I like the look that we've been getting at Negan personally, and a deeper look at his character lately. So, and I like the whole ideals that Dwight is going for here, where he's like, you know, I'm going to turn the bat into a symbol, not of the tyrannical rule of Negan, but into a good, healthy symbol. So I like Dwight having Lucille, and I'm hoping he won't die, because I think he has a lot more story left in him. Also, back with Gabriel, with how his life is going to be changed or whatever, I didn't really talk about that. I think that it'll just be the normal, he's fighting on the front lines, and a bunch of people he knew, a bunch of people he was fighting alongside are likely going to die, and that's going to have an effect on him, of course, and I think the same is true of Dwight. The same is true of Dwight if he survives. A lot of people he knows will probably die. And the next person on our list, Laura, I think is close to Dwight, of course, right now, and I think that she's going to die. I think there's a massive, massive chance that it seems like in some way she could betray them or put them at some sort of risk because of her jealousy of Magna's growing relationship with Dwight. So I think that she could do something stupid that could get her, maybe other people, but I'd say I feel kind of certain that Laura's going to die within the next 5 issues. I feel like she is dead right now. And the next person it would take us to is Negan. Negan, I think my personal guess, and what I personally hope for as well, is that he does some good shit and shows, like Rick and everyone, that he's a good guy now. He subscribed to Rick's ideals. He gains their trust, like, for good. And, like, he's never going to completely, totally gain their trust, don't get me wrong, but I think he needs to do something big that really gets them to see, yo, he's on our side now. And even if he's not really on their side and he's just playing them, I want to see that come out of this storyline. There's the other possibility that it could all ramp up to some big climax where he sacrifices himself and dies in a heroic way. I think that's totally possible too, but I don't prefer it, and I don't think it is the more likely of the two scenarios. And next up would be Magna. Magna we haven't actually seen a lot of ever since we were first introduced with her at the very beginning of the time skip. So I think that she's been growing closer and closer to that main core group status, and I think this is going to throw her up there because I think that she's going to help people out. She's going to grow in her relationship with Dwight, and I think that the whole result of this for Magna is that not only will she live, I think that she'll become more and more a core character to the series and get a lot more people on her side. At least that's my personal predictions. And next after her would be Michonne. I think Michonne is another one I think is guaranteed to live, essentially, because we see that she still has a lot of story. She has a lot of regret about what went on with Ezekiel and the kingdom. She has a lot of regret about leaving her daughters behind when the outbreak first broke out, or not being able to find her daughters, sorry. So yeah, I think that she has a lot more story to tell, and because of that, she is likely going to live. I think that she will lose some friends, though, and that could build with her character more, like, is going to be kind of a common thread with all the people surviving this. Then, when it comes to Jesus is next. I think that I want Jesus to live. He's my favorite comic character. I don't see any reason for him to die. I do think it's possible. I think it's very possible for him to die, though, just to show the threat of the Whisperers, like, show to the fans, and I guess the, like, actual characters too, oh my god, if they can take down Jesus, then they're a real important threat, and it would sort of build that heightened threat of the Whisperer army. But I don't completely see it happening. I see Jesus just being the normal, fights in the war, survives the war, is racked by the people he lost along the way. Then there's going to be Maggie, and I really feel like what seems like a lot of people feel, the way we've been seeing the Hilltop, it just feels like the Hilltop is set up to get just run over. And if that happens, we're going to have Maggie in danger. I do think she's going to survive and live, but I think that losing the Hilltop, losing her home, the people she led, and probably most of them getting slaughtered, is going to take its toll on her. I think she'll probably lose Brianna as well. I feel like Brianna will die. I'm hoping that Sophia and Herschel will live, but I don't know. I don't really feel like they're at the point in the story where they're like, oh, we need something big, let's kill off a kid that's been here a while. I don't think they need that right now. So I think Herschel and Sophia are good, and I think Maggie's good, but she's going to be really hurt losing possibly Brianna and possibly the Hilltop. Next up is Carl. I think Carl's going to be super, super important in the war after/if the Hilltop gets taken out, or during the fight for the Hilltop even. So I think Carl's going to be incredibly important to the actual fight, since we haven't seen him fight in a while, and I think he needs to just get thrown back into that role, and I think he'll live, and I think we'll have to see him deal with the sadness and effects of losing the Hilltop if it does go down there, possibly losing Earl as well, and I'm going to even say possibly losing Andrea, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit later when I get to her. Then next after him would be Lydia. I think Lydia is going to survive, and again, not only survive, kind of like Magna, but I think that she's going to gain the main core group's trust a bit more and move more towards being one of our main characters. She's kind of already there. She's part of the 16, but I do think that she's going to rise in importance and core groupality a little bit. And after her would be Aaron? No, there's somebody else before Aaron. It's Dante. Dante, I do think, is going to live. I think he's going to help get the main few, like Maggie and her kids, and possibly Carl and Lydia, and maybe Aaron as well. He's going to be the one trying to get them out of the Hilltop while it's going down in flames, or whatever, so to speak. And I think that he's going to live, and he's just going to have to deal with the loss of the Hilltop and the loss to people who he lived with and his friends, just like pretty much everybody who survives this. Now it's Aaron. Aaron could go either way. I feel like he could get killed because when the Hilltop is being overrun, he's still hurt. He's too hurt to fight or to escape. But another part of me thinks if he did just survive that stab wound, they're going to keep him alive a bit longer. He's going to escape with Maggie and Dante and the rest. So I think that there's equal chance in my mind that he could potentially die if they go one way with it, could potentially live if they go another, because they might not even show up at the hilltop, but the way we've been focusing on it, I have the strong feeling they will. And after him, I'm going to say we have William, and William, I think, is going to stay loyal to Rick for the Whisperer War, even if some of the members of the kingdom don't like that he is. I think that while he's remaining loyal to Rick, the Zachary dude is going to be sort of plotting behind his back and trying to turn people against him behind his back, sort of like a little Gregory type role, like what Gregory did with the trashy family at the hilltop when he was trying to like overthrow Maggie or whatever. I think that could go on there with Zachary and William, and I think that since he was just introduced, if they steamroll the kingdom, he could die, but if they don't, I feel like he could get closer to Rick and actually, like Magna or Lydia, grow to be closer to our main group. Since we were just introduced to him, it could be a good way to show through this storyline how he's a good guy and really get fans to trust him. Next up is Eugene, and I think that Eugene is going to be racked with guilt if this radio community does show up and they're bad guys, which there's a very good chance that they'll show up. And either way, I think them showing up and everybody find out Eugene's been holding out on us, he's been lying to us this whole time, he's got this radio, he's been talking to this other group. I think that Eugene could be very guilt-stricken at the end of the Whisperer War, and really that's all I can really say for Eugene. Everything with him depends on if this other group shows up, because that's really the only thing we've been getting lately with Eugene. And next is a big one, probably the biggest one for me, and that's going to be Andrea. I think that Andrea is going to end up having to fight, and I think that during the end of the fighting in the Whisperer War, I think she's going to die, actually. And the reason I think Andrea is going to die is, when was the last time we really got any significant personal character development for her? When's the last time she's really done anything different? It's been a while. It's been a long while. And there's no hints of her doing anything new or different or having any further different development in the future. So for her, I feel like her character is about worn out with what they can do with her. But the other characters like Carl and Rick, her dying pushes them forward. And even like Michonne and Maggie, her friends. So I think that Andrea dying pushes other characters forward, and if she lives, she doesn't really have much left anyway. Not much left to do, because think about if she lives, what's she going to do? Run between communities, go on runs, help fight here and there, sit around with Rick at Alexandria. That's what she's been doing for a long, long time. Like, all she's been doing for a long, long time. So, I think that unless something big comes off and Andrea has some serious development, I feel like she's going to die, because just comparing her to Michonne. Michonne has all that personal baggage, all of this personal stuff that she's going through in this character conflict. Dwight and Negan both have character conflict right now. There are a lot of characters that have that conflict that is a reason they should stay alive, because they have things to do. Andrea doesn't have much of any conflict. She doesn't really have much of anything to do, so I think that her dying now may be the better place to go ahead and kill Andrea off. Make it pretty big so that Rick and Carl can get, maybe make it so that she dies and Rick's like, if I was in fighting shape, I could have saved her, and her dying is what gets Rick back into fighting shape. Because Rick's the last one, and I think he is certain to survive here. Damn near certain to survive here. Because, I don't know, not just because he's the main character, but because I think he has a lot left to do. I think he's going to be forced to return to fighting. I think that, like I said, if Andrea dies, that could push him to get back into fighting shape. I think that the Whisperer War could be big for getting Rick back towards the Rick we knew before the time skip. Also, I feel like the potential shock of the new community coming in, and of course underestimating the Whisperers and their abilities, I think that may also lead into a bit of character development for Rick. So that leaves, and I have it written down, for the characters that I think are probably going to be safe this arc, or like most likely going to be safe this arc, I'm going to say Rick, Eugene, or I'll say Y2. Rick, because he has more to do. Eugene, because he has more to do with this new community. Dante, because I don't see him dying here. There's no reason for him to die. He has a lot more to do again. Lydia, because she was just introduced. This is her chance to become more important in the story. Same goes for Magna. So Magna's in here as well. Carl, because again, this is important for Carl's development. He has a ton to do in the future. Michonne has a bunch of character conflict going on that still needs to continue into the future. And Maggie can stand to, like, from the character development of this, Maggie has a lot to do as well. So I think those 8 are completely safe. I think that the ones that could go either way, in my opinion, Gabriel, because if they come at him, he could die on the front lines. If not, he could just survive and it's whatever. Negan, because I feel like Negan's most likely to survive, and I feel like surviving is the best storyline for him, but I could also see him dying in some sort of blaze of glory redemption act. Jesus, because I feel like Jesus is going to survive, but I could see them killing him off just to be like, okay, this is the threat level of the Whisperers. Aaron, because if they do go a certain way with the story, they could steamroll the hilltop and kill him because he can't fight or escape while injured, or going another way, he could just escape and he could be perfectly fine, or they could not even attack the hilltop and he could just lay there the whole time. But I kind of doubt that, because I think something important is bound to happen with him because of the whole life will be changed kind of stuff. And then William, because I think he's going to survive and become more important, but they could also just kill him off and steamroll the kingdom. And then the 3 that I think are actually in some danger. Laura, I think, in my opinion, Laura's certain to die here. Dwight, I do not want Dwight to die, but I could totally see it happening, especially for fans wanting Negan to get Lucille back. And lastly, Andrea, because I don't think she has very much story left, and I think that could be like this arc, this storyline's big death, and I think it could be really important to push Rick's character forward once again. So anyway, those were my thoughts, my predictions on what'll happen for those characters in the Whisperer War, and I hope you liked the video. So like if you did like the video, comment down there and tell me what you thought of the video and what you thought of the video, what you thought of my predictions. What are your own predictions for these characters as well? Subscribe for more of The Walking Dead, both comics and TV show, and of course the Fear the Walking Dead as well. Gonna start back up with videos on that next week. And yeah, that's it. Follow on Twitter if you want, and I'll try to keep you updated there. And thank you once again for watching. I'll see you all next time.